All right, so how do you start your next public presentation in a way where people are going to like you, or your audience is going to respond positively? And I get this question a lot because I travel and speak all over the world, and I've spoken to just about every type of audience you can imagine, from teenagers to college to corporate to churches to nonprofits to young people, old people, foreigners, Americans, you name it, I've probably spoken to that audience. And I've learned that there are a number of ways you can open up your presentation and have it go successful and start off in a way that gets your audience's attention. Sometimes it's making a blunt statement and then explaining it. Other times it's with a really compelling story. Sometimes it's with a question. Some people say not to do that, and it just kind of depends on the situation. But one killer way to do it, one of the best ways to open up a presentation, is with humor. All right, humor is extremely disarming, and I've seen a lot of people open with a lot of funny lines. And one of the funniest ones I think I've ever heard, one of the greatest icebreakers I've ever heard, was this. All right, I was watching this video by Dr. Wayne Dyer, who recently passed this past year. He died, and I was watching this video on YouTube, and he was talking for the I think it was Salesforce. It was one of their conferences out in I think it was San Francisco. And he gets up on stage, they announce him, he gets up on stage and he stands there and he doesn't say anything. And suddenly, after an awkward 5 or 6 seconds of silence, he says this. He says, "Hello, I'm Wayne Dyer. I'm 73 years old and I have sex almost every day." And people are just like laughing. I mean, you can hear the hysterical laughs throughout the crowd. They didn't expect it. It was kind of out of left field. And then he stands there and he just leaves it there. He doesn't say anything. There's another awkward silence. And then he says this: "Almost on Monday, almost on Tuesday, almost on Wednesday." And now you have people just about rolling out of their chairs laughing. And it didn't even matter if you've never heard of the guy. Immediately you liked him. And if you've ever heard him talk, he was an extremely likable man, very well loved. But he had an opening line, and he joked about his age, being a senior citizen, and he used it though. And from that point, the whole talk went about an hour and a half. He had the audience compelled the entire time, and he drew them in right at the beginning by making a shocking statement that was actually very funny. So I'm not saying you have to make a comment like that. I think the reason it was funny was because he was older, and so it was kind of a joke, whatever. I guess some people think maybe you get that old and what's the point? I don't know. I'm not that old, so I don't know. But there are a lot of ways you can open your next public presentation that's going to get people's attention, and you're not just going to be boring. All right. Now, I've never considered myself a comedian or a humorist of any sort, but in most presentations, if you ever see me speak live, you will see that I usually open with something funny that I know is going to get the audience's attention. And sometimes that just kind of comes with experience. You can try different things. Some things flop, other things don't flop. In fact, if your joke flops, sometimes you can actually recover by joking about how bad your joke sucked, and people will laugh at that, and so it still gets them laughing. But usually I open up with something funny because I know how powerful humor is and how disarming the power of laughter is. And so whether you're an old man joking about having sex almost every day and almost Monday, almost Tuesday, almost on Wednesday, and just making people laugh, or you have some crazy story or a joke that you just found works for people, I believe this: if you have a message that you truly believe matters and helps people and makes a difference in their lives, it is your obligation to communicate in a way that is as compelling as possible, that draws them in and gets their attention. Because you can have the most incredibly powerful message in the world, but if you can't get people's attention and get them to listen to you, then it just falls on deaf ears. Nobody's going to hear it. They're not going to read your book. They're not going to read your blog. They're not going to listen to your speech if you don't compel them immediately. In fact, the post here that you're watching, I don't recall exactly what I titled it, but it was something somewhat compelling, I can tell you that, because I thought it through a little bit. And basically something about your next public presentation and how the best icebreaker I've ever heard. And so if you don't know what an icebreaker is, it's just saying something in the beginning to break the ice with the audience so that they feel comfortable with you and you can have a good time and everybody wins. But anyway, think about that next time you're going to give a public presentation. Can you talk about something funny that's going to get people laughing? Because once you get them laughing, you can, I mean, they're on your side for the most part. I mean, they're totally into what you're saying. You have their attention. So there are a lot of ways you can open a speech. Use humor. If you've got it, if you can do it, use it, because it's extremely powerful.